Hey guys, I'm Ben Decker, and I'm happy to be continuing with the mental health awareness series that we're doing here. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and mental wellness is something that everyone can benefit from and can cultivate, even if you don't have any kind of mental health or mental illness diagnosis. Just like with physical wellness, there's always the relevance and importance of cultivating a sense of physical well-being. And so I'm bringing on a wonderful friend of mine named Matthew Coehlo. And let's see, it'll take me just a second to bring him on. But he is a musician, he's a singer, he's a songwriter, he's a real soulful guy. And he is going to be joining us here in a moment. He works with a company called Miraval, healing resort and retreat experiences for people, and I'm super excited to hear more about his process and his experience. Matt!
Hi Ben, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm doing well, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. So what's new? What's going on? I was just telling everyone a little bit about you. So
Awesome.
so what do you do now? Like, what's going on? I know you're a musician. You coordinate wellness retreats at a fabulous resort. Hey, talk to me. What's up?
Yeah, so I've been in Tucson here for close to 2 years now. Like you said, and you were sharing, I work at Miraval Resorts, and kind of had a pretty natural progression working with different departments there, from bringing in individuals for really individualized, intentional wellness retreats, focusing on mindfulness. Anywhere between, like I was saying, those individual retreats to shared group experiences to really, just really enhance connection and bring people together. So I was working there with reservations in the group sales team, and I'm now working in the marketing team. I have actually one of my team members here, Heather, and she's joined us, so that's really awesome. So I'm working with the marketing team. I'm still doing music and I'm writing, as much as I can, especially now that we have a lot of free time available. So, how are you? What's going on? What's new with you?
Yeah, things are great. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm a meditation teacher, so the whole mental health space is something that I really put a lot of focus and energy into. And I would love to just sort of invite you to share a little bit about your process. You don't start out in mindfulness. Rarely that's the first thing someone starts to experience. We get into that through something that we're learning or something that we go through. So I wanted to just sort of hear what your process is, how you got into meditation and mindfulness, got into that work.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure if a lot of of our viewers know our history as well, but I actually reached out to you back in going on almost 7 years now, having not known you at all, just through social media, because I knew that the work that you did, and I knew that you were kind of working with Anna Lynn with human trafficking and putting events together. But I think, that kind of, back in 2014, to answer your question, I think I was on a path that was really all about self-discovery and acknowledging the struggles back then that I was kind of experiencing really led me to seek answers, whether it was like finding books through, just like on the internet or at, the local bookstore to find the answers that I was looking for, and then kind of reach out to individuals like you who have, a similar mindset and have similar passions and goals in life. So I started, reaching out to people like you to kind of find myself in a community of like-minded people. And that's back when we were doing some stuff together at Full Circle over in Venice.
Right.
And I think that kind of led me to my next step. It's been an ever-growing process for me, is getting to mindfulness. That's kind of how I landed in Miraval. It's kind of serendipitous to me. Yeah.
So we did a lot of, we were meditating together, like, I don't know, at least once a week there for a while. So for those of you listening, Matt and I actually were part of a team of people that opened a spiritual center in Venice with our friend Andrew Keegan, Devin, Asher, a bunch of different people, great crew of people, really, really lovely,
Lots of
wonderful,
people.
cool, interesting people. Yeah, and actually Anna Lynn came to our first Resonate, came to the first like church service essentially that we were doing there. And it was more from a spiritual perspective, but something that I know you and I have spoken about a lot. Two things are coming up for me right now is one, the connection between community and mental health, and personal ritual and routine for mental health. And so in that community, we did create some sense of routine by having the weekly free meditation church service type experience that was religiously pluralistic. So I say church service loosely because we had people from all different traditions and everything there as guests and as speakers and that kind of thing. Marianne Williamson came, which was wonderful. But yeah, I wanted to just sort of invite you to share a little bit about the role that community and routine has come in.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. That you really, that platform that we kind of built for that center, no matter how many different types of people from different walks of life had joined that community, was really able to, elevate that as people started coming in together. But I think that, having gone there every Sunday and having you as a nearby neighbor, where we were able to kind of infuse meditation into my, maybe not everyday routine, but as often as I could, I kind of translated that into pretty much whatever I could, whether that be like exercising and making that sort of my, way to connect with myself and connect with, the world around me. That became my new meditation for this period of my life. And, whether it was creating my daily routine and getting up early and having this structured time out for myself that I can really reconnect with me and what my goals are and reflect a little bit. I think that was like a really great platform for me to kind of, even though this may not last forever, but I can take this mindset and what that goal was and that intention to just travel with me, down my path. So I think that was a really great opportunity for me to share that as well and bring that to new places.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say real quick hi to Lindsay and Danny and Ansley and Kirsten and Ronnie and Kelly and Jessica. So good to see you guys here. So happy that you're here. If throughout the process, if we say something that you want to ask about, go ahead and go for it. We'll keep talking. But yeah, Matt, thank you for sharing that. I remember you were so committed to wellness and to fitness. And you were really proactive. And so that's something that Anna Lynn and I talked about yesterday. We were talking about people a lot of times ask, how do I begin in meditation? And I always just say, go down the rabbit hole, start to take an interest, use your own intuition, use your own inner guidance, and actually use your intuition. Don't believe everything that you see and read. Be present with yourself and be discerning in the process. But that was something that I really noticed with you when it came to like wellness and fitness, is I really felt like you went down the rabbit hole and you were really exploring a lot of different kinds of like wellness strategies, wellness products. I remember I felt like you were always making introductions. You were always introducing me to people at this Super Greens company, people at this other, a lot of supplements and a lot of different things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was Howie over at Fresh Greens, and his company, he's the CEO of Fresh Greens, and what that was like just a really powerful super green food product that you can put into smoothies and things like that. But I met him pretty randomly just from following what my compass was at the time and going down that nutrition and wellness path and, being aware of what I was consuming and putting into my body, because I realized, we are what we eat. And I wanted to go down that rabbit hole, like you were saying. And it is true. It's very important to explore and find things that work for you and experience what you can and see what works. And maybe it's one thing for a little bit and it kind of guides you to another. But I think that's kind of how I led to that point.
Yeah, and I remember I was talking to you about fitness because I was I was really into meditation, really into studying. I was like really taking I was in a lot of classes and teaching a lot of classes and reading a lot and really
Absolutely.
in that studying mode. And I remember asking you about fitness, and it was like you always had good recommendations. It was like I remember one time you brought me over some kind of supplement. We were also neighbors, so you moved in
Yeah.
my apartment
I
building, and you brought me
think
some
it was
kind of
Sun
supplement.
Warrior. It was like a
Yes,
powder.
some
It
kind of
was like
Sun
a.
Warrior product. Yeah,
Mhm.
and um, and I also remember, and so it was like some kind of product that was like good for whatever I had going on, and then
It was
also
intentional. It was the I
yeah.
am like wellness shots. They were like I am happy, and it was yeah. I definitely remember herbal
Yeah, and
supplements.
then I also remember you gave me a really good advice about group fitness, which I had never really considered.
Hmm.
So I really learned, I could learn from you that you were someone who was experimenting and like going through experiences. There's something about going to a professional in certain situations. And then there's another thing about being there for each other in community. And I felt like you were a member of our community that was sharing experiences. You weren't necessarily like a nutritionist or like a trainer that was like leading these offering paid services, but you were always a really great resource to point people in different directions. Um, and I want to kind of just see, like, from a mental wellness perspective, from a mental health awareness perspective, what are the ways, first of all, what kinds of challenges have come up for you in your mental health process, in your experience, like with any kind of depression or anxiety or anything that has come up, like maybe around sexuality or whatever? And then what are the ways that you cultivate proactively mental wellness?
Yeah, that's a very packed question. I think there's tons of different layers to what I kind of experienced just in like a short span of my life. I'm 30 years old, and I feel like that's old now, but um, looking back, it seems like there's segments in my life where I had like this one overarching like struggle that I've been experiencing, and then like once that one was tackled, I kind of moved on to the next big thing in my life. But it kind of all goes together. Back when I first started my wellness journey with like fitness, and I think fitness really, I was probably I was 19 or 20 years old, and I started working out for like the first time outside of like scheduled high school, things like that, like sports and things, where it was like just my intention, like I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to focus on what makes me feel good and what makes me, have good self-esteem. And I really kind of saw myself in a light that wasn't very pleasing to myself, and I became very like self-conscious of my body and how I looked, and I don't think I knew where that was coming from, and I think it was partially due to me kind of coming to terms with who I was as a person and like what my sexuality is and what that means. Growing up in a very Christian household, um, where things are told to you in a certain way. At least in my home, it may not be like that in every home, but where I had a very strict projection of what I was supposed to be, and I was kind of growing into something that didn't match what that was. So I think that was like a big struggle to me. And once I started, going down that path of fitness and getting into a place where I was like comfortable in my skin, I
Mm-hmm.
was really kind of in a space to go ahead and like confront that struggle, that next one where I was kind of, going through what my sexuality is and how do I share that and how do I live that truth and what does that mean and how do I want to, come out of that really. So that was like my first step into what that was. And once I kind of felt, I don't want to use the word proud of myself, but it kind of does go in that space there, feel confident, proud. I kind of moved on to what my next obstacle was and it gave me encouragement really and that power, that self-empowerment to move forward. And I think, like you said, I do write music as well, and I wasn't really pursuing that at all. And I love to do it, and I love to sing, and I love to write. And that was like my next big thing, is like, how do I really bring that into my life more, and how do I become more of myself in music and share my talent with the world and people around me. So I think it just was like a next step to what I can overcome, and like how I can continue to grow and explore. And it keeps just
what role did music and songwriting play in your mental health process?
I think it is really everything. It's anything that I can't say to somebody, or maybe I don't know how to find the words to say in a conversation, because it is very scary sometimes being vulnerable. And I think that even, in a setting like this is sometimes not easy for people. And just kind of having a very open, vulnerable space and platform. But it's really given me I like to call it like therapy for me. Like when I'm in a studio and I'm recording, or if I'm, writing a song, or even when I'm co-writing, it gives me a really great place to share and be vulnerable, and it's comfortable for me. Whereas, a normal, casual, out of the blue conversation might strike up some fear, but at least this setting, this co-write setting or this recording session gives me the permission for myself to open up, and it allows me to get that out, and whatever struggle I'm facing, whether it's anxiety, which is kind of a new thing for me now. And I thought I had experienced anxiety before in certain life situations, but the current state that we're in now, I've kind of actually understood a little bit more, and maybe it's just a different layer of anxiety that I've been experiencing, but it's definitely allowed me to kind of just go a little bit more deeper within myself and be a little bit more retrospective and introspective as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So what would your main recommendation be for just for anyone, for our friends who are listening, who are watching, for anyone who might watch this later? What kind of tools or approaches, what would you recommend? Like if someone wanted to make an effort for, specifically, I think when it comes to songwriting and fitness, I'd love to hear your tips on both of those things.
Absolutely, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what you were describing earlier. When people are exploring and going down the rabbit hole, it's really just about taking the time to research and try different things and experience new things and see what works for you. For me, I love to kind of create a routine for myself, a daily routine, and what I do is I'll get up, maybe not these days just because my schedule's a little bit different, but for the most part it is pretty consistent. But I'll definitely schedule some time out of my day to make sure I go on a run and exercise, and I'm really giving myself the power to be in control of what my days are, because there are moments when we might feel like we're out of we're out of control a little bit, or maybe spiraling, or might get a little distracted in the things that are going on with so much content and, news headlines and things that kind of distract us. But giving myself a routine for the day kind of really gives me some power. It allows me to be in control of something, and it gives me that stability to be like, okay, I know what I can do today, and this is going to be the best that I can do. And tomorrow I'll do a little bit better. But like for myself, I'll go on a nice run. And I make sure now to try something new. I've been taking up, we have different apps these days to explore new educational opportunities. So I've been learning new languages. So that's been really cool to like kind of schedule out my day. I know, the run, I'm going to focus on studying French for a little bit.
Okay, so French, I was going to ask, what's the language? French is what you're studying?
I'm studying French. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they say from a neuroscience perspective, to learn another language is one of the best ways to engage the plasticity of the brain. So that's a really great thing to do to establish new habits. So anyone who wants to create a routine or create a ritual or get themselves into like healthy habits, learning something new, like learning a language, is actually one of the best ways you can tell your brain, that you can make your brain available and receptive to new neural pathways being laid down. So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
I always recommend, if you're trying to start a new habit, to meditate and to try to learn another language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what have you been doing? And I know, you lead a lot of meditations and you're really there for people in a very, uh, a big way that's very servicing, and, you're there serving people a lot, but what are you doing for yourself?
I think that I think it's kind of like the things that you're talking about. I feel like writing is part of my process. I learn things so that I can share them, and I think that's true for all of us. They say that if you really want to master something, teach it. So what I do right now, I have a book coming out in a couple weeks, and that I wrote, of course, a little while ago, and that was a great process. I don't have a copy. I have a copy, but it's like over there. And that one's called Meditations on Christ. And for me, that was an important thing because I also was raised Christian, and I also had a hard time with like the structure of it, and the way it felt like it wasn't a lot of self-discovery. It was a lot of like application and commandments,
Right.
command, even just that word is like, whoa.
It's a little jarring.
So that kind of energy. And so I actually had to go through a process of reconciliation with my childhood religion, and that process happened internally long before I ever wrote the book. But I wrote Meditations on Christ in order to sort of present as a gift an integration of the great stress relieving benefits, the great mental health benefits, the great psychological benefits and emotional benefits of meditation, not to mention the experience of spiritual development through meditation, but also integrating that in with my introduction to God through Christianity, so there's something that Marianne Williamson had really encouraged me to do, was to proactively reconcile with my childhood religion, because there's something that happens. This isn't really what she said, but there is something that happens when your original conditioning, your original introduction to spirituality and to God and to the universe and to heavenly forces, there's something that happens when you are working in that and when you're living in that, and so that's why I think that everyone should find some way to find beauty and healing in their relationship with their childhood religion. And so I wrote Meditations on Christ as a way to offer that out into the world. And so writing is a huge way that I process things. It's a huge way that I heal from my own dysfunction, and the way that I reflect on my mistakes and my character defects and my pitfalls. Especially, when you're using substances like any kind of drug or any kind of alcohol, alcohol is alcohol, but yeah, like any kind of thing that's like really strong in its effect on the brain, you actually act out distorted behaviors, And so for me, I really learned like, whoa, I have a lot of distorted behaviors that express, I was doing a lot of red carpet events, doing stuff with celebrities. I really bought into this idea that marijuana was like a medicine. And I had a doctor that was like, okay, so you should really be consuming this much in this way to manage depression, and I felt like it was working, but I also could really see how it was distorting my behavior in a way that actually didn't work for me, and it blurred boundaries and stuff that wasn't really working for me. And so I dove deeper into my meditation practice. And what I find now is, more than anything, as I write and as I meditate, I process through the grief or the heartbreak or the dysfunction or the sense of purposelessness. I think that's a big thing. People want to feel like they have purpose in their lives and in the world, and I find that teaching and writing is the way I express that purpose,
Absolutely.
So yeah, so thanks for asking that. And then also, I mean, I would love to be more fit, more athletic. You know, I feel like right before the pandemic happened, I was like my most committed to the gym that I've ever been
I
in
feel
my
like
whole
we
life.
were all in a really good spot.
And it was
It
like,
really should.
yeah, I was like,
Absolutely.
no gym, you know. So
Nothing.
that was such a bummer, honestly. That was, I think, on a personal level, I'm very tuned into what it means collectively. I did experience like a pretty dramatic financial hardship when the pandemic hit. I lost like basically all of my income, um, and I had things that were like basically guaranteed payments on the way that were like, oh, by the way, we can't pay you, you know. So that was really distressing. And then feeling like I was really strong physically, and like I was like really killing it at the gym, and I was like feeling myself and getting in my body, and like in a way on another level than more than I ever had in the past. And then the interruption with the pandemic coming in. So right now I'm sort of like just being super patient with myself. I feel like these conversations are part of my mental health management process.
It's been so awesome to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really great to it seems like you really, you know, kind of pivoted in a really great way, because, you know, you've been doing a lot of events and meditations at different locations. So it's really cool to see how you're kind of repurposing what you're doing and continuing. It didn't stop you, you know, quarantine didn't stop you. So it's really awesome.
Right. I feel like I'm busier. I feel like I'm busier than I was before. I'm like, okay, I got to do something, you know. And also I got really deluged with my own personal emotional process around it all, but also really seeing other people so distressed. There's a quote, I don't remember who said it, but the need is the call. When there's a need, we feel called to respond to that need. And I felt like there was an increased need for meditation and that kind of thing. So I sort of like did whatever I could to adapt into it. And it wasn't easy. I didn't want to deal with Zoom. I was like, no, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
But how's it been? How's it been for you?
You know, it's been good. I've been really enjoying the process, you know, and enjoying being able to host people from all over the place for these meditation classes that I used to, you know, you used to have to be nearby to come by, you know. And now I've got people in Tucson and Salt Lake and in Malaysia and in Thailand and in London, all taking the same class.
Right, and I joined you the other morning. There was an 8:30, I think I was at 8:30, a meditation. What was that platform, if you can remind me what that was? So you had sent me a link.
The My Intent platform, is that the one?
I think that's what it was, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So My Intent, yeah, they do the My Intent bracelets that are like a metal circle with a word
right.
And so now we have an entire online school and online platform with group fitness classes, breath work, sound baths, meditation. It's 100% free, and the commitment is that it will always be free.
I love it.
And it was sort of inspired by the conditions of the pandemic, but it will continue on beyond all of it.
That's great. That's so awesome.
And so have you been writing songs? I want to get back to you. Have you been writing songs?
So I've been, anytime I'm kind of just like, you know, I'm in the moment, I'm just like, well, I'm feeling very, very overwhelmed right now, and I don't know what to do with that emotion, or what do I do with what I'm experiencing. I'll go into one of our spare rooms. We have a studio and an office. So yeah, I've been, you know, I'll pick up the guitar and write, and I'll set it down, but Blake and I actually wrote a song a little bit a few days ago, and we put a little video together, but if it's okay, we'd like to sing it for you.
Yeah, I'd love that. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so the song is called...
Blake, bring him on over.
What's that? Let me go grab him real quick. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, go grab him. Okay.
We have some dogs too, so they're gonna be joining us also. But yeah, Blake and I wrote this song. It's called "We're in This Together."
Hey,
this is Blake. You guys have met before.
How are you?
Yes, we have.
Have we met before?
Yes. So we did the Full Circle event with Andrew. It was Witches and Wizards Ball.
Oh, right.
Do you remember that?
For the Witches and Wizards All Hallows Eve.
Yeah. That was a few like 4 years ago now.
Yeah, that was so fun, wasn't it?
It was really fun.
It was magical.
Yeah, it was very magical. Okay, cool. So tell me about this song.
Yeah, do you want to show a little bit about it? So we wrote this a song called, well, what kind of inspired it first?
Yeah, so the song is called In This Together. Essentially, we wanted to do something that kind of just eased everyone's minds right now. I know everyone is going through like a really weird time. You know, some people are struggling financially, some people obviously are struggling with their health. So we just wanted to, you know, reach out to everyone and kind of just let everyone know that, you know, we're better together, and even though this is a scary time, you know, we have one another to lean on. So we just kind of do something together.
But the video is actually posted on my my feed, so it's like a couple posts, but it's available to take a look at the video. But yeah, this one's called In This Together. Out to the children, making sure their hearts don't break. This one goes out to the fearful, the world can be a scary place. This one goes out to anyone who needs something to light their way. If you're ever feeling all alone, to the song and you won't be on your own. It's okay to be afraid just a little. You don't have to try and solve every riddle. When you have to brave the stormiest weather, just remember we're in this together. Just a little. You don't have to try and solve every riddle. When you have to break the stormiest weather, just remember we're in this together. Yeah, so it's just a sweet little song, but we have a really nice little video that we put together. It's available.
That's so beautiful. Wow.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
So we had
some
friends.
I've ever heard you sing, Blake. That you have a great voice. You both have great voices.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. I don't know if anybody knows, but this is my husband, Blake.
I'm gonna sneak back out. Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
See you
Blake.
then. Come on, guys. Let's go.
So who's that? Who's the pup?
So that was Joey. We have actually, I don't know if you've never met them, but this is Joey, Chandler, and Monica. But we've got 3 rescue dogs, and they are in heaven right now because we're just home with them all the time. So
Yeah. I love that. Well, I so appreciate everything that you shared, especially that beautiful song was just such a wonderful touch. Super grateful for that. And so if anyone wants to hear it again, you can watch this replay. This will be up on YouTube, but also they made a video for it. So go to Matthew Coehlo on Instagram and check out that video. And is this song, are you guys going to put it up on SoundCloud or iTunes or anything?
So it's totally DIY. We didn't actually use a real recording studio, but we did. We used my recording equipment here, but it's just going to be living on our Instagrams and SoundCloud, but not Spotify or anything.
Okay, cool. All right, so SoundCloud. So is that in the link in your bio? Can we find that song?
So that's Spotify, but I'll go ahead and repost it, and I'll include a link in my caption there. That way everybody can find it. So
Okay,
that's Chandler.
cool.
Let me go ahead and pull it out real quick. What was that, Ben?
Oh no, I was just gonna recommend you put a link tree in so that you can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're free.
Now that we have a lot of time, I'll go ahead and figure that out and make sure it's all.
Yeah, it's super quick and super easy. Well, I just want to thank you so much. Thank you all for watching and for coming in. This is going to be available to watch again for the next 24 hours on my page. But yeah, tomorrow I'll send you the YouTube link and we can keep sharing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you. It means so much to me. It was so great to tune in with you. And that was such a beautiful song. What a gift.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ben. I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.